Thank you very much. It's 10 o'clock. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk to Kevin Yoder. He's one of the greatest coach that I came across and was highly admired. And I thought maybe I'll reach out to him and ask him to join us. This is a group of real estate agents serious about the success of their business. And I'm glad to see that. I always believe that your drive is like an engine of your car. If you don't have it, then it's hard to push or encourage you. You don't have it. So you have to have that drive in your heart, enthusiasm for whatever you do. So I believe the person that joined us, they're all looking for a solution, something that would help them. And I know everything starts with your mindset. Listen, if you have a gold mine beside you, if you have no motivation, no drive, you're not going to put your hand and grab those gold, and that won't help you. So without further ado, I would ask Kevin to have the platform.
Well, thank you, Ashton. What a great start and kickoff. And I'm super excited to be here. Happy and grateful, by the way. This is an interesting time in real estate. Before I get started, how much time do we have so I can stay within integrity within your timeline and not go over?
Usually you have half an hour to 45 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll target 30 then, and I'll just keep an eye on the clock and make sure that and then if there's any Q&A at the end, that might be helpful as well. Because there's a lot of concepts that this might be a first time for the folks here, but I promise you it shouldn't be the last time. And the first time I learned these concepts, I didn't quite understand what I was hearing. But I became strangely obsessed with these concepts, and there's a reason why. I love that you brought it up with motivation too. And the thing that I would encourage everybody to understand is that that'll get us so far. And the idea here is that motivation would be kind of like the thing that revs you up, or you might go to a speech and just get super fired up, and that's like something that you're kind of transferring, the energy is transferring from another individual to you. And the question on the table then would become, how can we reignite this fire deep within ourselves that allows us to wake up every day self-motivated and running towards our most inspiring goals? Well, that's because it's an inside job. And I've been in those environments before where I got super fired up and excited. And there's this thing called the doorway, what's it called? The doorway theory, where you have inspiration or you have an idea and then you walk through a door and literally it's gone. You forgot why the hell you went from one room to the next. And it's sort of the same thing there. So if you find yourself getting fired up and motivated by a YouTube speech or anything, a podcast, just remember that unless it's integrated, it's going to do very little to have you actually take the actions that you need to take. And that's what I'm going to get into today. Of course, when you're going back to the thing I shared about getting reignited with this fire deep inside you to run towards your most inspiring goals, there is the secret right there, that last piece. Because without a goal, what's the point? We're wired to move towards things. We're wired to move towards goals. And in the absence of a clearly defined goal, we will find ourselves strangely loyal to the trivialities of life. And that comes in all sorts of forms. It comes in the forms of watching too much YouTube videos, social media, gossip, news. We call them squirrels where I come from. Look, squirrel. And they're all over the place, especially in real estate. So the goal would be the target. That's the thing we got to move towards. And so I would encourage you to, as you're looking for next year, land on something that's big and bold and beautiful and move towards it every single day. My name is Kevin Yoder. I probably should have done an intro. A real estate agent out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've been in real estate for 23 years. And I've never been more excited and fired up to be in this industry than I am right now. And one of the reasons is because of what I've learned in the last 6 years and how I can use this not only to apply to my business, to put service first and to bring a whole different level of world class to this industry and my clients, but also then share it with you, share it with people just like you, because I see the struggles in real estate. I see them every day, and you do too. You know what I'm talking about. This is a challenging industry, and this is coming from somebody who's helped over 3,700 or so sellers in my. And I say sellers, we work with buyers too, but that's just the number that I share with clients every single day. It's challenging, and we're about to experience a whole different way of this business. So the question becomes, are you somebody that wants to thrive in real estate next year, or do you want to just kind of get by? And that's really for you to decide. So hopefully today, by the time I get through my presentation, you will have made a decision that you do want to thrive. You do want to go after these big goals, and you can put aside, as Ashton was saying, those made up stories that you've told yourself about why you're not worthy, or maybe that's someone that you see that's doing extremely well in real estate. You know, that person that you think of when you think of that person that you're sort of envious of, or you got started, how can they do it? I can't. My biggest wish for you today would be that you can put that aside and step into the newest version of you, the version of you that you know darn well that you are capable of it, and you can accomplish anything you want if that's what you want to do. Let's get started. Let me share my screen. I think I have sharing capabilities here, right?
Yeah, you do.
All right, here we go. There we go. All right, can you see some frogs on a lily pad, everybody?
Yes.
All right, here we go. All right, thank you for letting me know. So 5 frogs sit on a lily pad. So here's a pop quiz. 5 frogs on a lily pad, one decides to jump off. How many are left? How many are left?
4.
If you answered 4, then your math is perfectly fine.
None.
Perfectly fine. Your math is great. But did someone answer something else?
None, like, because if one will go, so it will off balance.
That's a good, I like that. I haven't heard that yet. Robbie, that's good. The answer is actually 5. It's 5. And the reason is because look at the words on the screen. One decides to jump off. How many are left? They're all there because they didn't do it. Just one frog decided to jump, but they didn't actually do it. He hasn't actually done it yet. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So this quiz is a clue to what I'm going to share with you today about how to be absolutely successful in real estate, how to master your mindset and strategies to become a rock star real estate agent in 2025. If the term rock star doesn't resonate with you, then just replace it with whatever version you want. Okay, I kind of like it, but it may not resonate with you. You don't want to be a rock star agent, then be the best absolute version you possibly can be in real estate. I do believe that we're supposed to be the absolute best versions of ourselves. I do believe that wholeheartedly. I will die on that hill. And the reason is because we're put here for something, and we get to bring that special. I'm not suggesting that we're put here to be agents. I mean, like, you think that we're born and our creator said, you're going to be a real estate agent? No, I believe that we kind of all fell into this industry one way or another, and we get to bring our unique gifts to this very unique, awesome industry. And those special things that you have to bring to the table, no one else has. And that's what we're talking about leading into. So, this is what we're going to talk about today. So if you're somebody who's just looking for mediocrity, or making an average amount of money, maybe just hop out of here because this isn't going to resonate with you. This particular conversation, this talk is not going to resonate with you. That's for another presentation. This one's about being successful. This one's about being uber successful. This is about being making so much money in real estate that you don't know what to do with it. Now, if that's not something that you're familiar with, stay tuned. We're going to talk about that. So question is, does that sound like something you want to get behind? Is that something that you want to get behind, that you can get behind in the next year? Does that part resonate with you? Being the best version of yourself and earning so much money that you can do with it what you want to do and have absolute financial freedom?
Yes.
All right. Great. We got one out of how many that resonates with. That's all right. I often do say that I have someone sends me a letter or an email and they say, hey, thank you so much for, for what you did. And thank you for helping me through in this process and the coaching clients I have. And then I say, you know what, if I can just help one person, as long as I know I'm helping one person, that's all I need.
Okay, so that's
So
me.
let's,
Good.
that's you. Let's go. Is that okay? I think that was Amanda. Maybe not. Maybe it was Adriana.
Yeah.
So here's the challenge. So there's the challenges with doing this in 2025 are really threefold. There might be fourfold, but here's the deal. More agents are going after the same pie. There's less inventory, of course, which squelches the opportunities for most agents. This is not
Oh, but
2021,
sorry, there is
2022.
a,
This is
sorry to interrupt. There is a good thing about the pie is that now there is more realtors versus last year. So that's a good thing about this year. That's the number decreased for first time ever.
the number of, say that again.
The realtors, the number of realtors,
Yes.
usually every
It-
year increases, but this year, 2020,
Oh,
has
yeah.
decreased.
Yeah. That's right. And that's what I was about ready to get to. So less inventory, interest rates have made home buying unaffordable for many buyers. Home sales were down. Does anybody know the percentage they were down 2024 from 2022? What percentage?
It's around the same thing.
30%. 30% of home sales were gone out of the marketplace. And so that 30% oftentimes represents the low-hanging fruit, which is why my 14-year-old son could sell a property in 2021 and 22 in the States. It didn't take any degree of skill set, not much knowledge. It was just a matter of what was going on in the marketplace.
Mhm.
So the result here is that only the stronger are going to survive. So the question is you want to survive and thrive. So believe it or not, you still can have your best year in 2025 in real estate. That still is a possibility. That still is something that you can do. And I'm going to show you the exact plan and how to get there. All right, here's the deal. So a little history, 23 years in real estate. I've seen 4 types of markets. So I guess you can say I've been around the block. I don't know how indifferent Canadian real estate the market is there versus here. Would y'all say it's following similar trends, or would you say it's quite
Yes,
different? Similar trends? Okay.
absolutely.
So we talk about markets as defined by inventory levels, and then we educate sellers to understand that or buyers too, but it's either a seller's market or a buyer's market.
Yeah.
And then there's the extremes, or there's the subsets in between. There's a balanced market right in the middle. We're still in a seller's market as defined by inventory levels. So we're about 30 days on the market right now. Up until we reach about 4 months of inventory, we'd still be in a seller's market. So we're still around 30 days. So definitely a seller's market, not an extreme seller's market, which would be the pendulum would be way up here, but it's starting to come down a little bit and soften a little bit in that way, moving more into a balanced market. Are you guys in that area too? Same
No, we
place?
are in a buyer's market, exactly opposite.
You're in a buyer's market. Okay.
Yeah.
How many days in the market's normal for you?
Mhm. Like 3 months. Well,
Okay. Some would argue that's on the edge, or that's still a seller's market. In our area, that's still, believe it or not, it's still a seller's market. I think the reason why it would seem like a buyer's market is because we're having stark contrast from where we came from. It's a stark contrast. To sell a home in 3 hours as a norm, multiple offers,
True.
30, 40 offers on one property. Now we have 3 months. Everyone's going, what's going on? What do you mean, what's going on? The market shifts. It's a part of life. It's a part of reality in real estate. So, but this is unprecedented. I spent the first 8 years of my career on a roller coaster ride of income, up and down. Have you all been there before? Where you have a killer
Yes.
month and the next month it's just right. It's just dry, nothing happening. Or maybe you have one
Absolutely.
closing that's supposed to close and it doesn't happen. So that's and until I figured out what I'm going to share with you today, that was my experience in real estate, and it's no fun. It's extremely stressful, especially if you have obligations, and I know we all do.
Mhm.
But guess what? Had my best year in real estate last year, and this year, whereas most agents were down 25, 30, 40%. And then, of course, the National Association of Realtors in the States lost, oh goodness, the number was massive. I believe it was 300,000 agents. So imagine that. And I think someone pointed out, Adriana, I think the agents are leaving the business. But this year, we're going to be just crest above last year. So I'll take that as a huge win relative to the fact that there's 30% of sales removed. You saw the pie, right? Removed from the whole, removed from the amount of home sales that are happening. And so I would say that we still took our unfair share. And I'm going to encourage you to look for your unfair share of real estate as well. So, and I'm not trying to impress you, by the way. It's not something, I'm not saying sharing that with you to impress you, but to impress upon you that this can be done, and it can be done by you or anybody else that's committed to doing it. And it's interesting because so many people are leaving, but you can decide to stay and win. And so are you ready to learn the secrets?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. I talked about this already. Establish a worthy ideal. This is it. I mean, you know, how many times we hear about setting goals? And you know what's interesting about this is I do a lot of YouTube content, and I look at search terms, and I pay for a program called vidIQ, which allows me to capture the best search term, because I can do a video with great content, but if the title is not one that people are searching, then no one will find it. It's like a billboard in the desert. And so there's one topic that seems to get no searches, and it's this one here. Like, how do I set big goals, or how do I set goals better? It's something that people seem to be averse to. They just want to like ignore it, like it's not a thing. The interesting thing, there's a book written by Maxwell Maltz called Psycho-Cybernetics, and in Psycho-Cybernetics, he has us identify two things. One is the self-image. We're going to get into that in a minute. But the other thing is that we're like our brains are like a heat-seeking missile. It must move towards something. We've got to move towards something. And in the absence of a goal, if you took a planet and blew it up, if the planet was the goal, and then you blew that planet up, if you get hit by an asteroid, for example, now there's all these little fragments of that planet. You would literally go towards the little ones too. Those little ones represent anything that's not in alignment with a big goal. It's the distractions. It's the little things. We find ourselves working on these little stupid projects that don't really have any needle moving capacity to it. They're not DPIs, or not dollar productive. They're not DPAs, dollar productive activities. In the absence of that big goal, everything falls upon itself, because you have to identify with something that's so big and meaningful. And in my coaching program, I encourage my clients, not encourage, it's a part of it, is that you lock onto a business goal and you lock onto a personal goal. And these goals have got to be something you've never done before. Don't just go at it and say, I'm going to do 5% better than last year. The reason why that doesn't work is because there's nothing exciting about that. There's nothing magnificent about that. And the most important part is it causes no growth in the process. So set a goal that's big, exciting, a little scary, and most importantly, causes you to grow in the process. If that goal, and when you get the goal, if this is the goal, if by the time I get the goal, it doesn't matter if it's a trip or a house on the ocean or anything you can think of, or a certain amount of homes that you're selling or people you're serving, if when you accomplish the goal at the end of 2025, December 31st, 2025, if you're not a different version of yourself, it wasn't what we call a worthy ideal. A worthy ideal, it's a goal worth trading your life for. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So once you get that goal, attach emotion to it. A big old why, because any why, this is what I was thinking of when Ashton was talking when it first came in. It's the reason you're doing it. That's gonna allow you to break through any of those self-imposed walls. Is if you have a big enough reason for doing it, that'll allow you to look at this. Here's the made up stuff that you have fashioned that is keeping you from doing the thing, all made up. And then here, now, by the way, oh, no, Kevin, it's not made up. I don't have the skills. That's exactly right. Get the skills, develop the skills. There's not one reason on planet Earth today, 2025, that we cannot find the answer. It's not about that. Look at this book written 20 years ago by Gary Keller. Now, I know many of you don't particularly care for him, especially because the brand may represent a brand that's in opposition to your brand. But the point of this is that in here, he walks us through how to literally create a business that nets $1 million a year. It's all in here. It is a little bit dated. A lot of the numbers are dated, but the concepts are still sound. We can go on and on with that. It's not for a lack of information. The skill sets need to be developed, but the individual just needs to tap into those resources and be more resourceful. Okay. There's another book on my shelf. You probably can't see it, but it's Think and Grow Rich. Another manual for success. How many people have read it? How many people have actually followed the principles in there? It's not many. Not many have actually done it. So level up. It's time to level up and just admit to yourself that you have the tools. We have the tools. We're not shy of tools in real estate. It's time to identify those tools, lock into them, but you have to have a big reason for doing so, or else you're not going to follow through with it. Number 2, create a personal growth plan. Create a personal growth plan. Here's my plan. I wake up every day at 5 a.m. What do? Do I search the internet? Absolutely not. My phone is not on. I meditate, I pray, I visualize my goals, I do a gratitude journal, I study. Study is different than browsing, by the way. Study is study. I study, I ready myself for success. I work out and exercise for 30 minutes. That's it. And you have this concept where the mind, body, and spirit are synchronizing and all on fire. And then you're learning things. You're gaining information about the industry we're in. You're learning about the market. You're reading books on sales and negotiation and overcoming objections. And there's this thing, this rhythm of learning that is just so not, I think it's not understood. Before I got into really deep reading for the sake of teaching, I didn't know this, but when you read about something, then you go out in the marketplace. Let's say you read a book on sales, for example, or negotiating, or you just name it. Even like how to do a great video, and you go on, you put a camera up, and you just make the video that day. Well, you read about it, then you went and applied it that day, and then you saw it in action, and then you took that experience back to your reading, and then as you're reading, you have a deeper understanding of it. And so when you're reading it, you're seeing it differently. You're seeing it differently. The world has changed. We call that a paradigm shift. So imagine how your worldview has shifted because you read and then you went out in the world and applied it. That application of said information is what most people drop the ball on. They don't go out and do the thing. They read the thing, they regurgitated the thing, they didn't do the thing. Now they just sound smart, but they're not smart because they didn't take action on it. So taking action is the bridge between the information and then ultimately the success you seek, because what happens is you take it back to your learning, your reading, and then that deepens your understanding. And then you take that deep understanding back to your activities. And round it goes in an upward beneficial cycle. You see that? It goes like this. The opposite is also true. Remove the studying from your life and it circles downward. And the reason is because you're just banging around your preconceived biases in your brain, and you think that you're growing every year. Just because you wake up on January 1st does not mean you've grown. It means you're a year older. A big difference, huge difference. And so then otherwise put, knowledge without practice is useless. And so the key benefit to this whole thing is that you're improving your self-image by virtue of this. And there's something super important that I'm going to share with you on this. In order for you to be the most successful version of yourself, the version that you were brought here to be, the reason why you exist is buried in your self-image. And the self-image works like this. We have two images. We have an image that we project to the outside world, and what we see in the mirror, what you might put on Facebook, our friends, associations, etc. But then there's this other image, which is the deeper image, and that's who we are, what we believe we're worth, and how we believe the world sees us. And there is a we go back. There was a book written by, I told you about, Maxwell Maltz in the 1960s called Psycho-Cybernetics. If you haven't read it, it should be on your must-read book. By the way, there's something interesting. I heard Ed Milet talking this morning. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but I really love Ed and his material, and I learned a lot from him mostly every single week. But he was sharing something that he kind of fashioned it as his own, and I kind of chuckled a little bit because I realized that a lot of this information, also the stuff that I'm sharing, they didn't make it up. They didn't it comes from like many sources, right? It comes from, but they're foundational. Psycho-Cybernetics being one of them, Think and Grow Rich being another. And we can list a list of 5 or 6 or 10 base personal growth and development models that most of these speakers and authors and coaches are working from, and then bringing it to their particular field. And that's what we're doing here today. I'm sharing this information with you. But he had this thing he developed. He understood because he was doing these surgeries on these patients, and he found out that when he removed a part of their face or disfiguration, there wasn't only a change in their appearance, there was a noticeable change in their psychology. He's like, man, they're literally more confident by virtue of just the look and the appearance. But he also discovered there were some patients that, regardless of how much he improved their face, it didn't matter. He fixed their nose, or maybe it was their ear, or a portion of their face, and they became, in the doctor's eyes, a more beautiful version. Beautiful being subjective, of course. There was absolutely no psychological change whatsoever. So this led him to theorize that we actually have 2 images, one that reflects back to us from the mirror, and the more important one, the more critical one, which is the one that we hold in our own minds. And that's the inner image. You have to first change your inner image first. And as the inner image changes, the person's world changes, and your real estate business changes, because you will begin to believe that you're the sort of person who wins. You're the sort of person who gets up every single day and works on themselves so that you can go out and put service first and serve more people, because that's the sort of person you are. That's an identity statement, by the way. I'm the sort of person who. Okay? So the bottom line is that our results are always a reflection of what's going on internally. And we will always be consistent with the image we hold of ourselves. And it works like our self-image is like a thermostat, and it controls and regulates the temperature of everything we get in our lives. So we can't outrun it or outwill it, because just like the thermostat in our homes, it actually regulates us back to the person that we believe we can be. Have you ever actually done better for a period of time? Have you ever lost weight and then gained it back and thought, well, gosh, what's going on here? Have you ever outperformed in your real estate career, done exceedingly well for a short period of time, and then all of a sudden things started to happen? And we're going to call those coincidences, because we've got to rationalize this somehow. That's what happens. Our brain begins to rationalize. What's going on is it's self-sabotage, and it happens in many forms, because we can't outrun it. You can't exceed the thermostat setting. There's one word that explains this extremely well, and that word is consistency. And the reason why that's the most important word when we're talking about the self-image psychology is that all of our actions, all of our feelings, all of our behavior, and even our abilities come in many forms, which is how we articulate how much energy we're transferring to our clients. It makes a difference. Why did they not hire you? Why did they hire you? Because they felt something. That's all a part of the self-image. All these things, our actions, our feelings, our behaviors, and our abilities are always consistent, like a thermostat set at 70 degrees with the self-image. So to put it shortly, is you think about it this way: you will always act like the sort of person you conceive yourself to be. And the other part of it is that you literally cannot act otherwise in spite of your conscious efforts or willpower. Hustle and hard work will get you so far, but this is an inside job. It's an inside job. Okay. So the thing that we have to understand here, that you have to improve your self-image so that it matches. So if I like to say it this way, if I'm at a 70 degrees and my goal is 100, there's a 30-degree delta between where I am and where I want to go. Look at it that way. Don't look at it from a self-judgment standpoint, by the way, because I can see how we can go there real fast. And I used to do that. Well, I'm at a 70. I understood the concept, but my goal is here. There's a big gap. That's 30 degrees of change needed. Oh, I'm a loser, or I don't feel like, there's a gap there. So I'm not sufficient. It's not like that, because when you get to 100 degrees, guess what? You're going to want to go to 120. You know what I mean? Then your goal is at 120. I mean, that someone that has a net worth of, let's say, I don't know, 300 million. Do you think that their self-image is not the image of somebody who's a billionaire? The answer is yes, their self-image is different than a billionaire. I always chuckle when I watch the Shark Tank, the show in the US, between all the sharks on the stage. And Mark Cuban always makes it super clear to the others on stage when someone's trying to put a deal together that they're nowhere in the realm of his success level. Now, it's all done in tongue in cheek and jokingly, but there's some truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that. All right. So number 3 is show up every day and treat this like a job. My question is, and by the way, this is only for those that want to be successful. Super successful. I'm talking double your business from last year. Have you been part-time up to this point? Have you been part-time? Do you claim that to hustle is 30 hours a week? Does your bank account reflect the balance in your bank account? Does it reflect this sort of person who's showing up and doing the work every single day? These are questions to ask yourself. If not, then it's time to reevaluate your schedule. It's time to time block your dollar productive activities. These are your DPAs. What are they? Well, here's something that come to mind: lead generation, marketing, making video content more and more. It's going to become more and more relevant. Is now, always will be, in an ever increasing way. Presenting, negotiating, focusing on those things every single day, showing up and treating it like a job. I see so many agents. I would say probably, 60, 70%. I talk to them on the phone. What are they doing? They're at the grocery store, or they're making a cake, or they're mowing the lawn or pulling the weeds. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's 2 p.m. Don't you have people to talk to? Aren't you on the phone trying to drum up new business? No, you're treating it like it's part-time. Treat it like a job. Show up and work. I always tell my clients when they're deciding if they want to, I'm at a listing appointment. I'm like, hey, you ready to go? I got my work boots on today. I'm working. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go for you right now. I'm ready to go. Sign in the yard. Let's make this thing happen. Your big whys will drive you to that, by the way. If you have small goals, it doesn't require that you show up every day. You see how important that is? Make a goal so big that it just requires it. It decrees that you show up in a different way. All right, number 4, niche it down. Niche it down. What can you do to be better than anyone else? Choose your lane and master it. Choose your lane and master it. Gosh darn it, get so good at something. Choose what it is. What's the one thing, this is the question, what's the one thing I can learn in this business that I can learn to do better than anyone else? That's right, choose a lane. You have many lanes. There's value in being at the top, by the way. It's a lonely place because there's hardly anybody there. Hello, where are all the winners in the room? There's not that many, because the industry is like a 90-10 industry. At least it is in the US. I would argue maybe a 95-5, meaning 5 to 10% of us are doing 90% of the business. Get to the top. There's value in there. It's rare air stuff. I told a coaching client last week, she was trying to grab a hold of a concept. She's like, I feel like I'm lonely. Exactly right. Because the eagles don't fly with ducks, girlfriend. And guess what? Stallions don't run with donkeys either. Get so good at something that people can't take their eyes off you. Choose a lane. You can work your database, past clients, SOI, video content, social media. Do 2 educational videos a month. Send it to your database consistently. Figure out what people are asking. Go to Google, go to YouTube. Find out what people are asking for in real estate. Make a video about it. That's it. Send it to your database. I shouldn't say that's it, if that's what you choose to do. Open houses. I think there's some limitations in your country, maybe in your city, regarding expireds and for sale by owners. Calling, reach out, prospecting in that way. We have since developed because we can't get a hold of everybody, We have put into place these letters that we're sending out. We're actually starting to get traction on them. We've got 4 closings as a result. We just started 6 weeks ago. I mean, no, 8 weeks ago, because it took some time to get those under contract. That's pretty good. So don't let the limitations stop you in your tracks. Figure out a way to reach out to these people that truly need help. Facebook marketing, of course. There's just do the thing that you're made to do. There's so many aspects of real estate that are just icky to us. Like there's things that I don't like to do. Well, then I don't choose to spend a lot of my time in those lanes and master those. I choose to spend time in the lanes that I'm meant to do. So find out what it is. And of course, do some things that make you uncomfortable. If it makes you uncomfortable, it's probably another reason why you should do it. Okay. But when you put all these things together, some of these things that you need to do have to put you in direct path with potential buyers and sellers. Don't try to just work your way around it so you don't have to talk to anybody. And I believe that if you're going to thrive in real estate in the next decade, you must learn how to influence people to take action that's in their best interest. And that includes absolute strangers. So develop the ability to talk to anybody at any time about your value proposition. Okay. Step number 5. Kind of brought it up. So become so good at what you do that people can take their eyes off you. It's something called the law of compensation. Law of compensation decrees that to be the most successful you possibly can be, to be as wealthy as you want to be, to have an abundance in your life and business, you must absolutely follow the law of compensation. The law of compensation is a law, so it's irrefutable. You can't get around it. It's in place. Now, once I share this with you, just look at your city. Look at the businesses around you. Look at your own business. Run it through the filter of the law of compensation, and you're going to suddenly make decisions on where you want to be with this. So here's number 1 of the law of compensation. There's 3 parts. Number 1 is demand. Excuse me. Demand. Is there a demand for what you do? Now, in real estate, it's an interesting thing because everyone said, yeah, there's demand. No, there's not. There's not demand for everybody. There's a demand for real estate professionals who level up, who provide a world-class experience to their clients, who provide a white glove experience for the clients, who, when they work with a client, it's the Ritz-Carlton experience, not the Motel 6. I'm not sure if you have Motel 6s in Canada, but it's the lowest level of common denominator of a place to lay your head down at night on a long, long road trip. It's the best. So there is definitely demand for that level. And by the way, the marketplace is demanding it more and more. So yeah, I think that we met the criteria number 1, so long as we're leaning into that and doing the things we talked about up top, which is picking a lane and doing it better than anybody else. Number 2 is become so good at what you do that people can't take their eyes on you, and provide so much value that you become absolutely undeniable, and you become so invaluable to the marketplace. It's a different way of looking at it. It's a different level, is that you are so good at what you do that people can't stop listening to you, watching you, hearing you, presentations online, your clients, they're raving fans for life. That's a different level. It's a different way of being. And it's only when you've satisfied number 2 that number 3 actually is going to be adhered to as well. Now, by the way, if you violate any one of the 3 laws, it's not going to work. The law of compensation is working not in your favor, and you're not going to be as successful or financially successful as you want to be. Number 3 is that you would be missed. There'd be a gaping hole in the marketplace if you were to leave. Think about it that way. If I were to exit real estate today, would it just fill in? Would all the other agents around me just suck in and just fill up the void, or would I be missed? It's like the restaurant that closes the doors after 50 years. Everyone loved it. They didn't close because they were bad. They closed because they were just ready. They wanted to go travel the world. Like, man, I miss that place. Gosh darn it. There'll never be another place like that. It's like that. So work on demand, get so good that people can't take their eyes off you. And number 3 is you would be sorely missed in the marketplace if you were to exit. My friends, it's time. It's time. This is your time if you want it. So I really encourage you to grab a hold of something, get that goal, have it be so big that not so big that you that it's so far out that it's just like an impossibility, but definitely 2 or 3 or 4 levels beyond what you've done before, because it's only in that you'll take the actions every day that are going to get you out of bed before your alarm clock goes off to move towards them. Because if you remove that big goal, look at how all this stuff just kind of crumbles upon itself. What's the point? What's the point of improving my self-image if I don't have a goal? See that? Round and round we go. If you would like to get a free download, go to, just snap the QR code that's on your screen. You can see that. You see it on the bottom?
Yeah, we have it here.
You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So imageupgradenow.com, or just snap the QR code. If you'd like to go to my YouTube channel, I share a lot on personal growth and development. And it's just the most important thing that we can really work on. We are the CEOs of our own selves. We're the CEOs of our families. We're the CEOs of our business for sure. But ultimately, first and foremost, it starts here. It starts here. Come to find out it's all true. What you've heard, we become what we think about. And the balance of our thoughts is going to ultimately determine the balance of our bank accounts, and our families. Our families deserve better. Our clients deserve better. And so it's time to step up and become the best versions of ourselves. And that's an inside job. When you download that, it's a free download. There's an exercise in the PDF that I promise you, if you follow it, there's going to be a breakthrough for you. And it's going to open your mind to what we just talked about today in a bigger way. So I encourage you to do that. And if you want to reach out to me, there's a couple of places to do that. And I hope that this has served you today.
Excellent. Amazing material, Kevin. Thank you very much for sharing with that. Let me just turn off the sharing
You're
here.
very welcome.
One second. Just bear with me, everyone. Let's go back here. Okay, so remember, I have some of this material, including a recorded version for Kevin's today on my YouTube. Also, Monday accountability, we have a role play as well. Master classes every Thursday, and WhatsApp group for who's a very large accountability as well. And so, all right, 2 things. I'll leave it with you. Thank you very much, Kevin, for joining us again. It was great.
You're very
Amazing.
welcome.
We learned a
My
lot from
pleasure.
you. And let me see, first of all, what is in chat. Then I have 2 things to tell you. Okay, so we are clear with the chat. I'll leave you with 2 things. And remember, if you have a plan B, your plan A would suffer mediocrity. Okay, so make sure your plan A burns you. Make sure your plan A would take away your sleep every night. Make sure your plan A is a passion for you. All right. Now, the second thing I want to leave you with you is be stubborn to win. Okay. Earlier, I was sharing this with Sophie. When I was door knocking, yes, I came across many people, most of them beautiful, but some of them would slam the door on me. Some of them were using wrong language, but I would take space from those doors and I would tell myself, Mr. Homeowner, I do not let you determine my destiny, my future. I have 2 daughters. I have to feed them. I have to make sure they are on the right path. I don't let you determine their destiny. I would determine that one. So thank you, Kevin, for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
And have a
Thank you.
wonderful
Yeah, absolutely.
wonderful day.
Thanks for having me. We'll
Thank
see you guys
you.
later. Thanks for having me here today. Take care.